opportunity to speak with you. And I know that
Yes,
you waited some time for us to actually connect. So thank you so much for having me. I
yes,
really
yes.
appreciate it.
No, first of all, thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you here. For those who are wondering, because girl, TikTok is a mess. TikTok is a mess. So you know you're doing something right when you got haters. But supposedly I heard through the TikTok vines, street vines, they're like, oh, it's so funny how she's now like people just clench onto her for clout. I was like, that's weird. I was like, I've been in her inbox for like a month and a half. I
And I
was
think that people misunderstand that there's things that happen online and there's definitely things that happen in real life, and people are organizing and really connecting with people who are doing the work. And I'm really excited for the people who make the content, of course. But I think that these conversations around what happens outside of social media and how we take the knowledge and the information that we gain outside into the world and actually make a difference is super important.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say, you're doing amazing. You are freaking doing amazing, girl. I don't know what it is that you're doing, but keep doing it. Because the people that I told that you were gonna be today, they're like, oh my gosh, the queen herself. I say, yes, honey, she's gonna be here. So I'm super excited. But while we're here, before we get started, because we're a little early, I know we're not early in time, but we're people are still hopping on and stuff. Do you want to just let people know like who you are in general without like too much context? Just like what do you do on the app? Maybe like what your content is about.
Absolutely. My name is Sasha Hernandez, and I am originally from the southern part of Mexico, from Costa Chica. I'm from a really small Afro-Indigenous town, and I migrated to the United States when I was 12 years old. And since then, my life have become completely political. I mean, and it was back home, but I feel like, given my circumstances as an undocumented individual, I had to pursue a career in politics to be able to not only understand my own oppression and be able to and be empowered through that process, but also empowering others along the way. So I've been in politics for 20 years. I've done incredible work around family engagement, which was my bread and butter because I come from a family that is so supportive and loving and caring that I wanted to transfer a lot of that love to other families that I get to work with. And I'm an interpreter. I translate. I do it for free. I gained this skill to be able to support my community. And a lot of the times I do it because there's lack of language access in our community. So even yesterday, I was able to interpret for some workers, and I've had the opportunity to interpret for Congress people, for my mayor actually most recently, because a lot of our communities are not informed about what's happening because the information is not available to them in their language. So a lot of the work that I do in terms of my volunteering has to do with elections. I'm a commissioner for the Alameda County Register of Voters, and I'm also interpreting on the side, but I'm also the executive director for a nonprofit organization here in Oakland that supports LGBTQ youth and families navigate how to love and accept their LGBTQ children. And unfortunately, is a community that is not well supported. So fundraising and doing the work as an Afro-Indigenous woman it can be really tough and complicated. But that's the place where I want to be, is supporting my community. We don't do this for the money or the fame. We really do it because these are passion. And so before, when I was young, I wanted to be an actress and I wanted to be a dancer. And then I became a justice a justice warrior as a result of my own oppression. So that here I am.
Well, I want to say thank you for being here. I love your story because like a lot of our your story is our story, and I think that you're a beautiful representation of as brown women, as marginalized people in general. And you do such an amazing job. Like I've been watching you from afar for a while, and it's beautiful to see somebody who not only uh, does it here on the app, which is good too, because awareness is great. Awareness is needed. If you only have the ability to raise awareness, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Please know that that is okay too. But it's something so beautiful to see people do it outside the app. People who are boots on the ground, people who, if they're not protesting and marching, they're in these, in lawmakers' faces. They're right there trying to get change. They're in school board meetings, city council meetings. That's what it's about, because people don't understand. We are not, to this colonial society, we are not meant to occupy those spaces. We are not meant to be in those rooms. We're not meant to be hearing them. If they ever wanted to give us sovereignty, if they ever wanted to give us power over who we are and the right to self-determination, they would have already done it.
Mm.
500 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago. And a lot of what we see going on, the injustices of what we have going on within our communities, it's not something of the past. It's happening now. Things are happening currently now to our people. And it's super important that those things are highlighted. And you are a fucking chingona. Sorry, excuse my words, yeah, excuse my language. But you're a chingona, like in so many aspects, you fight for so many different marginalized communities. And while fighting for a community or a cause in general, as far as marginalized communities, is amazing, you fight for an umbrella of so many of them. And that's what makes you like extra special, like an extra Pokemon ball. We gotta protect it at all costs. So I just want to say I really appreciate you for being here. As you know, there's a lot going on online, but I think that right now more than ever, just like even social media, the system, it's trying to suppress women's voices, and especially women of color. Right now in 2026, we get pushback from our own communities. We get pushback from the outside community. But right now more than ever, it's essential that we support brown women voices. We push forward brown women voices, especially women who are doing amazing things such as yourself. So once again, thank you for being here. Amazing person. If you guys are just tapping in, make sure you're doing all the amazing things. Share it to 5 people, share it to 5 frenemies, your Sancho, your Sancha, your tias, your aunties. Share it to anybody out there. Bring them in, and we can get started. So I just want to like dig deep. We'll start off right away, and then that way we can, because I know I have a feeling this is gonna be a little bit of a longer live, just because you're just so amazing, and I want to pick your brain on a lot of things. How do your lived experiences as an Afro-Indigenous person shape your approach to protecting the vote of historically disenfranchised groups?
I believe that one of the things is my leadership. It doesn't come the same way. Like, I feel like the way that I grew up in an Afro Indigenous community, the values of integrity are a huge part of my identity, a huge part of my identity, because the place where I'm from, we don't really, when you become the mayor, you become the leader, right? Is because of the integrity, how you raise your family, who you were to children, who you are to your own community. And I feel like sometimes when we move to the United States as immigrants, or even when we go into spaces that are predominantly white, sometimes we replicate the same systems of oppression, of wanting to be like them. And so I feel for me, it's always been a shift. It's being different from what everybody else is expecting. I know that my wife is African American, and she says that every time I walk into some of these political spaces, people feel uncomfortable automatically, because I don't shy away from who I am. I'm very confident in myself. And that comes from a support system. Just like you said, people are always going to push us away. When I was in politics, I ran for office actually. And a lot of the things that they did was lie about me, and send, like, one of the things that they did is, like, Jerry Brown, who was the governor of California, invested into a campaign that literally was to harm my image in my community. But they couldn't do that because I've been in this community doing the work. They couldn't lie to the people. They tried, and they tried over and over and over again. And what they do is they create these attacks so that people like ourselves, we run away and we say, we don't want to do this ever again. But little did they know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm a woman that leads differently, that is comfortable with that, To me, power is a tool to support the people who are oppressed, not a tool for me to for my own personal gain. So when they thought that I was going to be devastated for losing twice and I was just going to run away and I wasn't going to care anymore, little did they know, no, that's not the leadership that I care about. What I want to do is I want to make a difference. And to be honest, especially because I grew up in Oakland, the same city where I lost, Bobby Seals lost, who was a Black Panther Party member, founder, and he lost to a Republican. So that means that sometimes you don't even need that seat to make a difference. That you can try to get to those positions of power because they're important. I'm not gonna lie, structurally, it's important that we have representation in those spaces. But I'm always remember that the difference is when you want to make a difference for your community, whether is as a political person or if you just want to be a volunteer, whatever aspect of your life that you want to share with your community is important. And so I don't know, for me, I feel like my leadership really comes from like not shying away from where I come from and being, I guess, like, I'm often told that I need to like be more American, and I think that that's just problematic as it is. But I don't know. I just feel so much more confident in the way that my people lead, and being able to bring that to the States and to bring a new perspective is so important. Because if we try to be like everybody else who's in office, then we're not going to shift anything. We're just going to replicate the same systems of oppression, and I'm tired of it. So I feel like now they see that I'm not like everybody else, and that can be really uncomfortable. And I don't care. I keep doing it. And my wife will say, you showing up to a Democratic Party like event and you're wearing a huipil, that's unheard of. Like that's something. And then she's like, people get uncomfortable because of your indigeneity, because they know that you're proud of where you come from. And that's just something that if you want to be in politics, you have to strip your identity away. And I was not willing to do that. I was told, use a little bit more makeup, so just to make you lighter, or shift your hair, things of that nature, or like the way that you dress. Like those are the constant things that I heard all of the time, and I was like, hell no, I'd rather lose, but understand that at the end of the day, at that finish line, I'm myself. I'm not gonna be somebody that I know that I don't want to be. I don't want to be like everybody else, or else I wouldn't even want to be in this space. I would just let them do what they do, but that's not gonna get us anywhere.
Mm.
Sorry, I can talk for days,
No,
bro.
no,
You
no.
know that.
I'm listening. I'll sit back and listen because it's so true to have a woman that can represent so many diasporas is freaking beautiful. Like I don't think people understand just how amazing that is, because we aren't supposed to be in those places. If it was up to them, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't be there. The fact that they tell you to switch so many different things, switch your hair, switch the way that you do your makeup, switch the way that you talk. A lot of people, even like with accents, like people who have accents, they'll be like, maybe you should learn, maybe you should. No, because then at that point I would be faking, I would be code switching, and that's not who I am. And why should I be less than? Why should I minimize myself, my
Mm,
people, to make you comfortable? That's not how it works. When
absolutely.
this whole 500 years under colonialism, we've been changing who we are for their comfortability. We're done with that. We're done with that. And the fact that you refuse to do that just makes you even more chingonazo. Let me shut up. Like, let me shut up.
No,
Um,
but you know what? I love what you said, especially about accents, because accents tell a story. And why would we want to erase those stories? Those are the stories of resistance. Those are the stories of our people. We're not here by coincidence. And I am tired of people being like, oh, you just landed in Oakland. No, 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 no. This is centuries of people surviving and resisting and preserving their culture. So it's not going to be me coming to the United States to give it all up. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, that's facts. And there's one thing that I really don't, that really just irks me, is when they try to tell us, like, basically to assimilate to them. And it's like, but if you really technically look at it, we are the real Americans. Like, we
Mm,
are like, what? We've been assimilating under forcibly for the last 3, 4, 500 years. Like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Hey, Bill. Um, so what specific barriers do Black and Indigenous voters face that mainstream electoral policies like often ignore that you think? What could come to mind for you?
Language access. Language access, and I think I told you I'm an interpreter, and I remember like a lot of the times I'd advocated for language access, and then when I would bring up like the African American community, sometimes they'll say, but why is it involved us? And I said, because the language that they use is to ensure that you are not involved, that you don't understand. They will make it so that it's so complicated that it's really uncomfortable for you to be in those spaces, or for you to be, what's it called, like, do not find interest in these things. So language access is beyond being monolingual, speaking one language. It really comes down to gatekeeping, and language is a way that white supremacy works towards everybody. They want to make sure that the laws, the regulations, the policies, even the ballots are written in a way that is you can comprehend, and that they, for instance, like, if they send a voter guide or something, they will use words in a way to manipulate the voters so that they go against their own interest. I'm a commissioner, so like a lot of the things that also impact is like areas. Sometimes having what's it called, voting places in every community is important, but sometimes people have to travel, sometimes people, and then that's not easy for people. Like, gas is super expensive, so they find every way possible for us to not engage in politics. And so as a commissioner, we've been giving a lot of feedback around how they can get more people to register to vote as well, because that's not something that happens on a regular basis. It's something that if the election season is happening, then everybody's like, hey, go and get registered. But it's not something that we do on a regular basis when it's like off season. So I engage in a lot of that, of trying to get more people to register.
Mm. And there's a lot of like you said, there's a lot of voter suppression, a
Mm.
lot of voter suppression. Like I know that well, here, me, I've been trying to push more people to go vote, especially more people from our communities and like the brown diaspora, the indigenous diaspora. And like, I recently found out that like even on the reservation, like a lot of people don't have an address on the reservation, and they're making it to where you
Mhm.
have to have an address to vote. That's voter suppression. Like
Absolutely.
it's wild. Like it's wild. It's wild. So I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of people who go and try to push that voting. I know that if anybody is interested in voting, you guys, vote.org, if I'm not mistaken. I could be correct. I think it's vote.org. You can check if you're registered to vote on there. And then you can also help people register to vote as well. And that's super important. So how can election boards better partner with tribal governments and urban indigenous or Afro-descendant communities to build permanent and trusting relationships?
I I believe that it's important for us to have more community spaces. Starting
Mm,
with communication, is starting with being in community. I mean, I can have great ideas, but if I'm not connecting to the people who are the most impacted, it won't work. And I tell you this because as the commissioner, I'm the first one in my commission to actually start reaching to the organizations that are doing the work around youth voting, around undocumented families who have the opportunity to vote. Like, there are no conversations that are happening with these communities, and that is a challenge because as a representative, as a commissioner, I'm there to represent on what is it called, like underserved communities, I suppose. There's a specific name, but I can't think about it right now. But a lot of the times I'm there to represent a community, but if I'm not in communication with that community, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because it's only coming from my own lived experience. So I think having town halls, having a clear plan too. If you're working specifically in elections, like for instance, I came into the election process as a commissioner, and when I came, I told my president, I was like, I have three goals. My first goal is that youth are going to be able to vote on election day because that's still not a thing for our city. That we implement Measure S, which is a measure that would allow undocumented families to be able to vote for the board members. And then the third one is to increase the participation of Black and Brown populations here in Oakland. And she said, you are the first commissioner that actually comes with a plan, with
mm,
goals. And I feel like when we get into these spaces, we need to be clear about what we are going to do because a lot of the times we're improvising in spaces of leadership and we can't do that anymore. I'm tired of oh, I'm gonna get to the seat and then I'll figure it out once I get to the seat. I'm like, how about you do the research and you understand why you want to be a representative and who do you want to represent and where to find the people that you want to represent so that they can be the ones to tell you exactly what they want to see. And so I've become a lot more open, not only with the constituents, like and talking to real people, but also with local organizations, because I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be the expert of all of the things. I know so many organizations in my community that work around homelessness, anti-police terror, like so many different avenues. People who have been in prison, like I don't have to be the expert of those communities, but if I'm connected to my community, I will be able to tap into their base. I will be able to build coalition with them. And I feel like we don't take in consideration how important coalitions are and how important it is to bring people together. But for me, that was one of the very first steps, was how do we bring people who have this similar interest or that are interested in particular things, or even things that I may not be interested in, but that still relate back to the community that I'm serving. And I feel like coalition building is important. It's important understanding your landscape. Like again, I feel like a lot of people, especially being in a commission, I know that a lot of people do it because they want it to look good in the resume. And I'm tired of seeing people just coming to these positions of power because they are going to be able to show off what they've done. And also, I feel like for me, the community is very important. How we show up, like you were saying earlier, showing up to board meetings, to city council meetings, to board meetings that are for your county supervisors, and holding us accountable to the things that you want to see is very important. That's what I did before I became someone in the government. I really was just someone who wanted to advocate. I advocated for different policies. More recently, I told you, I'm the executive director for a nonprofit, and part of the work was working with the LGBTQ community. And when we were looking at the sanctuary district policy for our district, one of the things that I wanted to do was ensure that the LGBTQ community would be added to the sanctuary district policy. And so that is some of the work that I'm doing to ensure that we listen to our community and that we're putting it into work with the electeds that are responsible to make sure that we're safe. At the end of the day, that's why it's important what we do as far as awareness is concerned online, but also how we hold our representatives accountable, because sometimes we can hold our content creators and our influencers accountable, but ultimately the people who are making the decisions about our everyday life sit at the city council meetings, sit at the board meetings. Those are the people who are making the decisions around your children, your roads, your firefighter department. These are the people that keep giving the police a whole lot of money. We keep
Exactly.
the police keeps crying about the defunding. No, baby. In most cities, they take most of the budget. And so it is our job to show up to those meetings and say, hey, how can we create restorative justice? How can we make sure that we use some of this money for after school programs, preventative measures? This is something the community has to bring up to them, or else they'll continue to give all of the money to the police. But we're not going to have anything that is going to prevent children from going into prison. We are looking at education being defunded left and right, charter schools everywhere, because that is a really good way of privatizing education. But if you are fighting for public education, more public schools will be, there will be just a lot better if we had people that were constantly advocating for them. So I don't know. It's just the way that you show up before your representatives, I think, is also key as to what they're going to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, how do you address voter apathy or deep-seated distrust in the democratic systems among the communities that have faced generational exclusion? Like, how do we address that? Because a lot of our communities, Black, Brown, or Indigenous, they have that distrust for the government. They have that distrust for even like the Democratic Party, or you know, I mean, with yeah, like, but how do you think, what is a good way to address those amongst our community?
I think that building relationships is the first one. As a commissioner, I do try to tell them my own experience, and they always talk about how I had a genuine platform. I was able to be very clear about the things that I want, that my stance, what I wanted to do as a school board member, and unfortunately, we were like 94 votes away. And so I keep telling them
Oh,
about every vote, every
wow.
single vote matters. We were for the first time it was 4%. The last time it was like 3%. And so I know for first time, like firsthand experience, that every vote counts. And if we want the right people, we have to show up in the moment that they are seeking your vote. Like, how do you hold people accountable? Like, that's one thing that I always think about. Like, there are so many content creators online that have millions of followers that often don't use that platform to invite potential candidates. Let's talk to them. Let's have them tell us what are they gonna do? Because in order for us to understand what their platform is, we gotta listen to them. We gotta ask questions, and then once they're elected, because of our vote, we hold them accountable. But if we're not engaged from the process of who our candidates are, it's going to be impossible that once they get to office we'll say, hey, can you do this for me? Because ultimately you probably didn't even know what their policies were to begin with. So I try to ask people to start engaging from the moment that people are candidates, to hold them accountable, to make sure that what is important to us is part of their agenda. For instance, like I said, I work with the LGBTQ community, I work with the immigrant community, and so a lot of the times when I'm talking to candidates, I'm engaging in a way that is relevant to the community that I serve. And so when we are actually talking after they get elected, I talk to them about, hey, you said that you were going to do this for my community. What's up? And so I feel like holding people accountable from the campaign trail is very important. Another thing that is very important is that we don't, unlike the right and a lot of the white supremacist spaces, we don't build our own candidates. And
Mm.
that's always been our challenge. We don't build our own leaders. We don't build our own community to be able to govern, because we believe in this white supremacy stuff that says that we're not good enough to lead our own towns. We're not good enough to become, how many people I've asked, why wouldn't you run for office? I know. And I'm like, no, dude, you would be great. And they will ask me why. Because you have the confidence, because you have integrity, because you don't have to have a political science degree to be in politics. There's other things that are very important. Your integrity, how you relate to the community, what has been your service to the community. And we don't have a pipeline for that. But we see that the right often has a pipeline on who they're going to run next, because they're building those leaders. They're engaging them in their agenda. And I feel like if Black and brown communities had their own leaders that they wanted to push forward, then they will have more of an interest in voting. But because these are distant people, we don't feel a connection to them. And so I feel like that's one of the things that I try to do with the nonprofit that I work with, is ensuring that we give young people opportunity for leadership development. We have a lot of undocumented families. We also have a lot of DACA recipients that I talk to all the time about how they see themselves in the future. What kind of positions can they take to represent their own communities? And to be honest, we have to start building our own leaders. We cannot continue to bring outsiders because we don't think that we're good enough to lead. That's not true, and we have to stop that belief. If we had people from our own communities, I think that people would probably vote a little bit more if they knew the person, if they were connected to their work. I feel like a lot of the people that voted for me actually have seen me over the years. They see me grow up. They see that I mean what I say. I'm not just somebody that is coming into this community for financial gain or for power, because I've been doing this work for free. So so a lot of people that supported me, like I got the, oh my God, I got the support of every union. I got the support of the teachers union. The reason why we lost is because they have a lot of money. They'll beat us with the money, honey. We don't. I raised the first time I ran for office, I raised 22,000. The second time I raised 11,000, and Jerry Brown put hundreds of thousands of dollars against me. How am I supposed to compete with that? But at the end of the day, I lost by 3% because I was connected to my community. Even when they try to harm my character, even when they try to do so many things against me, the community for the most part knew who I am. So it felt more it felt like a real competition because I wasn't. But if I was somebody else that they just brought in and I didn't know the community, that would have been an ass whooping. That would have been an ass whooping. And so seeing that is so important. Also, one thing that is very important when you're thinking about your candidates or even thinking about who you want to elect, start every document about what money they get is available to you publicly. So make sure that when you look at a candidate, look at who's funding them, who is giving them money. I did not take any money from anyone that I didn't believe had the best interest at heart for my community. So that's why I didn't raise a whole lot of money, because I'm not going to take money that at the end of the day will hold me accountable to the people I don't want to be accountable to. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if there's something that you learn from this live is understand who your candidates are and understand where their money comes from. That is so important because whoever gives them the money is who they are going to serve. Also, how they spend their money for their campaigns, all of that is available online, honey. I guarantee you, because there's a lot of regulations around that area specifically for funding. So ensure that you go and find out who's giving these people money. Why is their messaging the way that it is? And a lot of the times you're going to find that is the money that is sending us a specific message. So for me, I think that's also being key, is understanding my candidates, understanding who their funders are, and also how they spend their money in campaigns. Because when I was running, I realized that my competition spent a lot of money in a lot of what's it called, just outsiders, people from other states that didn't even know our community, that were doing their mailers, that were doing all of their campaign managers, you name it. It was all outsiders. It's people who had no interest in our community. Whereas my campaign money went straight to student volunteers, went straight to teachers who became campaign organizers, and I fed a lot of people. We ate good. We ate good, honey, because there's nothing more beautiful than breaking bread with your people. And all the time that we were passing out flyers, baby, I'm not just gonna give you a flyer. Here's a tostada or here's a drink, man. Like let's build community. We don't have to be exactly like they are. We can be different. We are different, and we should enjoy those differences, man. As people of color, we have joy, we have dance, we got food, you name it. And we need to take advantage of that. You know how many elotes I gave out for free? I love elotes. Like
Nothing,
for real.
nothing.
We are different and we need to enjoy that. I'm tired of this idea that our North Star is being white or having what white supremacists have. No, we don't want that. We want something different, because if what we want is what they have, then let them have it. And we'll continue to have the same candidates, but that's not what we want. And they thought that I was really weird for doing these things. My opposition spent like $7,000 in a tent where she didn't talk to anybody. And what I did is I got a little cart, and I was walking around the festival with like candy, talking to the kids, cursing out flyers. And it's like, I didn't feel like bad because I didn't have the money that they had, because I didn't care what they were doing. They cared about everything that I was doing under the sun, but I didn't care about what they were doing because I was doing my own thing. And I believed in what I was doing, what I wanted to. And I'm gonna be very transparent because I ran 2 cycles. In the first cycle, they pushed me to hire a white woman because they thought that I needed some advice from white people to be able to run a campaign. And I was like, that will cost me half of the campaign money that I have. What are you talking about? And so what I ended up doing is like I hired people within my own community. And I told myself, if I lose, $20,000 is life changing for a lot of us that are working class. And I don't want to look back and say I give it to a whole bunch of consultants that went from my community, that they didn't even look like me, they didn't speak like me, they didn't even care about my community. I don't want to look back and look at those figures and think, oh my God, I just gave my money away to these people. So what I did is invested back in my community. So that, like, even losing didn't feel so bad because I felt like I was able to hold on to my integrity. The second round, I didn't even get the Democratic Party to support me. And I was like, fine, who cares? It's not like you're making a difference in the world. Like, it's not like you're going to change my life. It's not like you are the leader of like what we want to see in the future. Like, you are struggling to even figure out your own identity. So I'm not even going to argue with you. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. And so at the end, which was really funny because the opposition went and said I told you Jerry Brown gave a ton of money, and part of the money went to making mailers to say that I didn't have no education. I was like, who I send my student loans to? Anyway, they said there has to say a whole bunch of shit. And I was so frustrated because one of the things that they said was that she was endorsed by Kamala Harris. And we were like, girl, what? Wait, hold on, wait a minute. And then the Democratic Party had to come out and say, hey, she's lying. And I was like, so you couldn't support me because you wasn't sure between me and her, and now you have to come out and say that she's lying on your name. Listen, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. Like, don't, like, my people, my community, the Afro-Indigenous or location where I come from always tells me, don't go where you're not welcome. Don't stay there too long. And don't change for those people. Create your own spaces. Who cares? Who cares? Create your own lane. Like, why would you want to be just like them? It has not worked for them for centuries. So why would I take you as the blueprint, baby? It has not worked for you, baby. It has not worked. Like, anyway, I told you I can go on and on. You got like Costa Chica, exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
I love it.
The area where we're from, we lead our communities literally in such a different way that I see. And so I never wanted to forget where I come from, because there's so much value and beauty in our indigenous practices that if we're not here to highlight it, they will erase it. And I refuse to let, no, it's not happening.
First of all, te puedo escuchar hablar toda la noche.
I can talk. Girl, I can talk. Politics.
Hi, Saji.
Thank you, everybody who's here. Really appreciate y'all's time.
Yes. We appreciate your time because you're a busy lady, and you could be. I always tell my guests, you can be in 1,000 different places, but you chose to be here, so we really appreciate you. I was thinking, and just as you were talking, and how you were saying that, like, you putting your money back into the community, you could have done all these other things that they told you needed to do, but you chose to keep it communal. And I think that that speaks to our indigeneity, that speaks to the people that we are. We are communal people. Indigenous people, brown people, black people are communal people. Like, us being individualistic, us just me, my, and I mentality is not for us. Like, and that's how you know somebody is really true to who they say they are, and what they're about, is because they stay for the people. We need people like Sasha in office. Like, it is so important that we get people like her in office. Dang, Gina knows area. Shut up, Dunia. Hey, good people stick together. That's right.
That's facts. Yeah. It's so we gravitate towards each other. It's literally something about who we are, that we don't have to fake it. Like it has to be genuine. And I think that like people, when they say, oh, it's a vibe, they think that it's just like something random. No, it's energy. Is the things that make you really who you are, that attracts other people. And that's why I said, like, I feel like we need to be our own leaders. When I talk to people about like who I want to see in the future, I want to see people like me, but I know that in like 20 years it's not going to be me. So my job right now is to ensure that the next generation is prepared. And so I do a lot of leadership development for our youth. I teach them all the things that I know. We cannot gatekeep. That is a white people thing. We are communal people.
One
We
more
don't
time for the
gatekeep.
people in the back.
Like, let's remember, our indigenous communities didn't necessarily have the structural schools that we have now. We pass on wisdom, information. That's how we did it. Not in the same structure that they had, but in a way that we were able to pass it on from generation to generation, because we're not just thinking about the personal gain of today. We're thinking about what the next generation is going to be able to have. How are we going to support the earth? How are we going to support the children? Those are the things that we're questioning about. So when you show up to spaces and you want to replicate the same systems of oppression, or you want to lead with the same white supremacy mindset, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Y'all, our sister is speaking a word tonight, okay? I hope everybody's got their feathers ready to fan it off. So I have one question before. This is usually the time that I bring up somebody from the audience to ask you a question. But one question is, if you can tell little Sasha, 10-year-old Sasha, 5-year-old Sasha, 12-year-old, 15-year-old Sasha, the younger you, if she was standing in front of you, what would you tell her now?
Oh God. Oh Lord. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Oh, that's deep.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, that's deep, because I I didn't think that I was gonna make it out of the border in the desert in Arizona, when my mom and I were crossing the desert. And I remember just thinking of like, because we walk 3 days and 2 nights of the desert to come to the States. And I remember that the coyote would tell us like that light, that's the United States. And it just felt so far. And the more we walked, the further it felt. And I felt like I just never, at 12, I didn't want to give up. I did it, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna be on the other side, but I want to be there. And so I feel like I would tell her, just keep going, and yeah, you're gonna get to the other side, and you're gonna get there, and it's gonna be. And to be honest, like I never really speak to this experience too much, because I never really get asked, but it is Native people that help us get across.
Mm.
And I just
Mm.
want to say that out loud, because that, I think, is just what I will tell her. Will tell her, it's like, yes, you're gonna get to the other side, but it's gonna be your people who's gonna protect you. It's gonna be your people who's gonna look out for you. You're not gonna be alone. No matter where you go, there's gonna be an indigenous person that is always gonna give you some food, that's gonna give you support, that is gonna help you across. You don't have to worry about it. You're gonna be fine, because and I yeah, that's what I'll tell her. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna find those people. And look at, we found each other. And that's what that has been the trend in my life, is finding incredible indigenous women along the way, and finding incredible people to support me, because I didn't get here by myself. I didn't do this on my own. And that's one of the most American shit you can believe, is to think that you got here by yourself and you did it all on your own and nobody helped you and you're a self-made millionaire and this and that. And it's like, no, I needed every single woman that gave me advice. I needed every single human in my life that supported me, the support system. You said it earlier. How can you not break in a place where it tells you that politics, money, power is so important? Because my parents are watching, because my community is watching, because they hold me accountable. You need to be accountable to somebody. And when you're a person with indigenous practices, you know that you didn't get here by yourself. And if you let everybody else down, you're letting your community down, not just yourself. So I'm very against that individualistic way of life that you were talking about earlier. Like I would just tell her like, no, lean on your community. People tell me like, why are you the way that you are? Because my community's watching, and I refuse to let them down. I
Mm.
refuse to look back and say I allow power and money and the same BS turn me into things I never wanted to be. When and my best friends, baby, like, all women of color, just be like, mm-mm-mm. I can see them. My parents, I mean, but people like you that you will tell me if I start saying some crazy white supremacy shit on my channel, you'll be like, girl, what's that? Why are you doing that? And I will hold myself. I'm accountable to somebody, not just myself, but I'm accountable to a community. I'm accountable to the people that love me. I'm accountable even to my haters to not let them win and see me go down the hill.
I don't know I don't know what's in the air amidst the full moon. It must be the energy because it's the buck moon and everybody's getting buck and their horns are coming out. No sé, pero como toda la energía está everywhere and people are just a little crazy on this app. Pero I think that is really beautiful. Like it is embedded in the American quote unquote way of life to be individualistic, hyper individualistic. Like it is a thing to be so independent and not depend on anyone. Little do they know that is so far from our indigenous traditions and our way of life. I cannot stress this enough, we are communal people.
Mm,
There's no coincidence that saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. It literally takes a village to live.
yeah,
I need my sisters. I need my strong sisters. I need my people. I need my community. If I fuck up, I need you to tell me I fuck up. If I'm
yeah,
doing good, I need you to tell me I'm doing good. I
yeah,
need that support. I need to trust people to be able to, hey, voy a ir al mandado si me miras la casa, or si me pones ojo en la casa, or, hoy es, mis hijos, I'm gonna be late from work. Can you go pick up the kids from soccer practice or from school? You need that community. You need to be able to lean on each other. And I cannot stress that enough. So hearing you say that is just so inspiring. Makes me feel like I'm not crazy. But
but
it's
this
a
world will make
thing.
you believe that you are.
Yes, yes, colonialism will make you believe you are going crazy. I need people to understand that. I want to welcome
Mhm.
in one of my another amazing sister. She's a sister from another mister. I promise you. I always say we were sisters in another life. Welcome in Fethra, or she is going by Loretta Youngskill Silks, but she can introduce herself. Sis, would you like to ask our sister a question? I guess a question.
What they're relative. So, my name's Marcy. You can call me Beans. That's my nickname. And I just wanted to thank you. When you were talking and you were sharing your testimony, you gave vision. You opened up an ancestral memory that I didn't know existed. And it's something so important for people to be able to hear. Migrating for Native people is our way of life. You shared a cinematic, such vivid imagery, a moment about us migrating.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing that because that is normal. Native people from top of North America, bottom of South America, we're one people. Thank you for that. So my question is, how do you reward yourself for your good work? We know what you do for community, but
Oh.
what do you do for yourself?
Mm.
Ooh.
Mm.
I was born in Costa Chica, so I try to go back home as often as I possibly can and sit by the water. There's something so beautiful about the ocean and remember and just being present. I disconnect when I go home. Well, the area where I'm from, there's literally no signal, so it's really easy to go. Um, but yeah, just having a moment to just for myself, because this can be very draining, just like I was saying, like having thousands of dollars to be used against your character is so harmful that like I really needed to go. And a lot of the times are I travel the world too a lot. Before I used to do it more often, now I don't do it as much, but I used to go to learn about other indigenous cultures, Afro Mexican cultures, like most recently I went to Palenque in Colombia, and I was so touched by the people and how much they preserve their culture. And actually, when I walked into Palenque, it was like I was walking into my own home. And so feeling that connection to other parts of the world, because again, it's a diaspora. We're not like we but finding those similarities have been super beautiful. So I think that I try to take time for myself to also learn to be vulnerable, to meet new people, and to be connected back to my land, to the area where I'm from. Like that is important for me. It's always going back to the roots. Oh, or else you get lost in the sauce. Like we're not just leaves that are flying away. We come from a tree that has strong roots. And so I feel like in order for me to feel grounded, in order for me to feel like my most authentic self, I always have to go home and just like reconnect with that aspect of my life that makes me different. So when I come to the United States, or I come back to the work that is particularly around politics in the United States, I'm very rooted in my community. I'm rooted in my beliefs. I'm rooted in my community, and I remember where I come from. So I don't have to let anybody question that. I'll never let anybody question my identity. Like at the
Mm.
moment that I have to defend my identity, it's a conversation I don't want to have with you, because you will not question my humanity, because they've been doing that for hundreds of years, and I refuse to engage in those conversations. I don't want to do that. I'm okay. That's a place, like I told you, there's places where I don't want to be, because I want to create other creative, more welcoming spaces, and they can keep that. There's people who like to live in the nastiness of the world, that individualistic understanding of the world, and that's fine, but that's not where I want to be. So I feel like recharging to understand where I come from, so that nobody can shake me up and make me feel like I need to question my humanity, or that have to question or defend my identity. Like I don't have to do that. Mm-mm.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you so much for your time, and
Thank
I
you.
hope that the universe has a lot of green lights for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I first of all, thank you for coming up, Beans. She is also an amazing human being. If you guys don't know who she is, she's also been on one of my podcast interviews. So she was a former guest. So thank you for coming up, sis. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna bring up one more person. A ver si pueden venir. A ver. Where is she at? Is she in? She's not even in here. Somebody go get Ivy. I know Ivy wanted to say something. But until then, I will bring up one more person. You have spoke so much life into us tonight, into man, there's just so much going on. And you have spoke so much life into that. I really appreciate you. And I pray that Creator continues to bless you, continues to give you the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom to do what you're doing. Because when you are a woman, and a woman of color especially in this society, and you're using your platform, your voice, your body, your time, your energy, people will try to bring that down.
Hmm.
As much as you try to have that good energy, you try to make sure that there's things happening, there's people who will try to combat that. And I want to encourage you. I want to encourage people who are listening. Support your women creators, content creators,
Hmm.
advocates, activists, and politicians, or just community leaders. Support them. There's a lot of support for men in our community, but it's a thing, like, why can't we support our women too? Our women create life. Our women are sacred. Our women are doing things that it is almost impossible to do, but yet we get done all the time. So, Skeptic, welcome in. And then I got one more guest in the box. I got you, Tia Nina. Welcome in, Skeptic.
Hey, beautiful ladies. Thank you for having
Hello.
me. Hi.
Hi. Just invited you up so that if you have any questions for our beautiful guest, go ahead and ask them. Thank you for coming up.
Yeah, no, I have seen your content. I think it's very it was very eye-opening for me because I didn't have a lot of information. I have read a lot of like Mexican history. My parents are from Mexico, and all my family still travel to Mexico and live there. But there's not a lot of information when it comes to the Afro-Mexican community. What would be the avenue that you would advise us to go through to learn more information? Because I do know, and I learned this through watching you, that the Afro-Mexican community has basically kept to themselves, and they don't report a lot of things to the government. So there really isn't that information out there. And I've always understood that as a culture, Mexicans, it's just a lack of knowledge that there is for the community. It isn't that there's necessarily the same type of attitude that there is here in the United States. It's more of like, we would like to know more, but there really isn't that information out there. How do you, what advice would you give for us that want to learn more of Afro-Mexican history and information? Like, where do we find it?
Ooh, that is, I thank you for asking that question. I was waiting for somebody to ask that question because that question always makes me nervous, because there is limited information, and one of the reasons why there's limited information about Afro-Indigenous towns is because we do keep to ourselves, because we've been able to keep organized crime away. Like, you never hear Afro-Mexican drug lord, or you hear like a narco that is Afro-Mexican. That's unheard of. And it's because we've been able to protect our communities from that kind of violence. And sometimes I feel like people are gonna feel like, my fear is that people are gonna feel like Afro-Mexicans are being judgmental of other communities who engage in this kind of violence, but it's not that. Is that over the past few centuries, we've been able to have our own form of government, which has allowed certain benefits that I fear that if people heard about it, they would try to harm our community. And that has always been our fear in sharing what we have, who we are, how do we govern ourselves, is that people will get uncomfortable, jealous, or that the racism is really going to come our way to harm our way of life. And we've seen that several times because we've seen foreigners try to come and try to exploit our land or try to buy land from our community, but they don't understand the way that land actually works in our system. And that's something that we don't, that's a communal thing. This is our thing. So it's not something that we're going to let a foreigner sort of like acquire. There's no way that, for instance, somebody from a different, if you're not from our community, you're not going to be able to get land, period. And that's something that I feel like if other Mexicans found out and they felt like, well, why do they get it and we don't, is going to start some uncomfortable conversations that I don't know if we're ready to have yet, right? And because not everybody is aware of the importance of reparations or why this land should be sacred to the people that are originally from there or the people that were able to settle there once they found their freedom. Like, for instance, like, one very important distinction is that we weren't enslaved we were enslaved a shorter time than people in the United States. So that already has it creates a difference because we've been freed a little longer. We've been able to create our own communities. We've been able to live in peace with indigenous people. So indigenous and Black people have be able to live in the same areas in peace. And I feel like sometimes we fear that if outsiders come in, they can disrupt that peace. And we've seen it because there's researchers that have come and treat us like we're animals. Like, there was a particular researcher, and I've been trying to find that research, but I'm gonna go back to, and I'm gonna send it to you, Gino, at some point, because there was a researcher who came from the United States, from San Francisco, actually, who was doing a report on our community, and the way that they treated us like we were monkeys in a zoo was so disrespectful that after that, the Afro-Indigenous population was like, we're not going to let foreigners come in and treat us like, dehumanize us. And that's what I keep telling you all about, like, why I go back home all the time to re-energize myself in recognizing that I don't have to prove anything to anybody, that I'm good enough the way that I am. But when we allow people from the outside to come into our communities, they find something wrong with us. We're not good enough, or we're missing something. And And it's because a lot of the times, and I don't know how to explain this, and I've been trying to articulate this to people, is that our North Star as Afro-Indigenous people is not white supremacy. It's not acquiring what white people have. White people are not our North Star. Our North Star is other indigenous people, it's other black people around the world. Like, we got reparations because that was really rooted in inspiration from African Americans. That's something that we weren't going to be able to get from other Mexicans per se, especially mestizos or white Mexicans, right? We had to look at other black communities and seeing how they were approaching this fight around reparations. And so we were able to gain experience from them and from other cultures around the world. And so, yeah, that's I think that's why there's so much limited information. I don't think that we've had people come in good faith in wanting to learn about our communities. They didn't treat us like human beings in a lot of the opportunities that they had to come and learn. And I also feel like people are scared that if we give people the opportunity to learn about our culture, unfortunately what's happening in Oaxaca and other indigenous towns will happen to us too, where like people now can go and pay to have a Oaxacan wedding. And like that would be so disrespectful to our Afro-Mexican and Afro-Indigenous community of Costa Chica, because we have 4-day weddings. We have traditions that like are so us that if I just saw somebody do it because it's cool or because it's a trend, that would be so harmful to my community that we don't want to be mainstream, because we know what happens. They appropriate huaraches, they appropriate huipiles, like even with the Mexican jersey, they didn't pay the indigenous people right. And so we're afraid that if we go mainstream or if we connect with other areas of Mexico, that unfortunately we'll have the same fate, which is that our community is going to be treated as a custom, that is going to be treated as something that you can just wear or use and it's disposable, because it's not. And so I think that that's why a lot of our community is so reserved about who we are and what we have. But there's certain things that are easily accessible, like music. I got a lot of Guerrerense music. It's actually quite popular. Carquis are from Costa Chica and Costa Grande. And they play incredible music. Pepe Ramos, like people learn about our music and things of that nature, but allowing people into our culture, I think that is going to take some time, because historically we haven't had the best experiences with people coming in. And we've seen what our neighbors, like I'm from Costa Chica, that covers Guerrero and Oaxaca. So we're seeing literally our own people being like, what's it called? Being disposed of their their culture. I don't know, the way that they treat Oaxacan culture right now, it's harmful for a lot of us. And watching that is like, that makes you think, is it really that we want to have what other people have, or can we keep to ourselves and enjoy the beauty of our culture without having it to sell it to white people?
Your insight on this, and Gina too, because I've always being that like my family has kind of been in between Mexican culture and then immigrated here to the United States. I've always been very intentional of keeping, because I don't know if people understand, the governance of the Mexican government in Mexico is very different than the United States, and applying American mentalities and systematic ways of thinking to Mexico will confuse you, because it's not the same. I don't think people can understand that, especially for a person who has heritage from other nations that has been born and has lived the majority of their life in the United States. It's very confusing to look at the Mexican history or history from other nations and understand the difference between like the American system and how other nations function. And when you mix that in with a different culture, they lose. It's like they start talking American to a country that is completely different than yours. It doesn't work the same. The system is completely different. You're talking about a car compared to a motorcycle. They may look like and run the same, but the motor and the way that all the gears work are completely different. They're set up completely different.
Absolutely.
Agree. And I think just to respond back, and I think that that is what one of the things that makes it really hard for people from Afro-Indigenous towns in Costa Chica to be able to share, because the lens that we're looked at is through that white supremacy lens, or this capitalist lens of like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna take your culture so I can monetize us out of off of it, or I'm gonna be able to sell parts of your culture, and we don't want that. Even though for a lot of people, like I said, maybe the North Star is being able to have what other communities have. That's not our, that we move differently, just like you said, we're not like everybody else, but we are in connection with other communities. Like I was sharing earlier, we do have a connection to the African American population that wants to do reparations, and we are in constant conversation. Like my cousin is the mayor for the town where I'm from, and he goes to a conference every year where they have Afro people of the diaspora throughout the Americas, and they learn so much about each other, and they share resources, and they share a lot of the practices. So that's also really exciting, that it's not like we're isolated and we're not connecting with anybody, but that we're connecting to the people that we feel like will honor, respect, and understand our culture, and that we don't have to cater to, or that we have to sell ourselves to.
Mm, okay. Um, you answer so good. I could just keep listening. um, thank you, Skep. Thank you for coming up, Mama. If another amazing woman. If you're not familiar with Skep, she's awesome. Well, all the women that I associate myself with are pretty awesome. Saji, thank you for coming up. Skep, I'm gonna drop you down, Mama. Thank you so much. Saji, thank you for coming up, Mija. I know you wanted to ask her something, so go ahead.
Well, first, I want to say it is so nice to meet you, Sasha. My birth name is Cristina, y soy del
Mm,
Estado de Mexico. And just sitting here listening to your story, I feel like I'm finally like, you get it, you get it, you get it. Um, I I was one of those children that questioned everything. My parents were tired of me. There wasn't for me the porque yo dije did not apply. And
mm,
so a lot of times growing up and to this day it has followed me into the person that I am, and I never understood why there was, like you said, that part of Mexico where they wanted to be to share that traditional culture with foreigners. That irked me every single time. And the earliest memory that I have of this is going to Puerto Vallarta, and seeing the indigenous population there. And I think that a lot of people don't get it if they have never been there. And it's not para ser mamona o grosera, pero si no has ido, si no has vivido ahí, no entiendes that there are a lot of indigenous communities, and a lot of communities in general that are starting to get it, and some that always got it. That gatekeeping is what has kept them safe. So when we went to, it was in, the people would go to Puerto Vallarta. I will not say, because I learned that this area that they took us to was very sacred to them. And the indigenous people there said, we can take them because they are our people. We can show them this island that we are not letting foreigners go into. Y yo estaba chiquita. I was probably like 8 years old, and I saw the white people and the white foreigners get to that like touristy area of Puerto Vallarta, and while they took us to this kind of secluded area. But it is so important. And I think that the Americanized, the skeptic was saying too, the Americanized way is like, even if somebody is indigenous but or Mexicano, but has always grown up in the United States, they kind of have this mentality of we own things or we deserve to have access to things, where I feel like esa no es la manera a la que crecemos en México. En México somos muy humildes, and we kind of know that when somebody lets you in, it is a privilege, it is an honor. And I think that is something that people that are and have been within their indigenous communities here in the United States can understand, but I don't think it's something that Latinos or Mexican Americans who have grown up here can understand. So it was just a more me sharing and even going back to my pueblo. I don't know if you've dealt with crazy people on the internet, but we get a lot of times we get a lot of times that we are not Mexican, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I go home to recharge. I tell Gina this all the time. I'm like, yo voy ahí para tocar mi tierra, sentir el aire, probar mi agua, estar con mi gente, and it is humbling. And I just wanted to say, I really, you know, I just met you, but I really admire the way that you carry yourself. And I think that if we are to be speaking up and being inclusive and just bringing into light the issues that are happening and that are important to our Afro-Latino community, we have to go to people who are Afro-Latino, who are Afro-Indigenous, because if we don't, then we are kind of doing the same shit that these white people do when it comes to Latino issues, where we feel that we can speak up por ellos instead of highlighting and amplifying their voices. So what is one misconception? Todo esto para preguntarte, what is one misconception that you think Mexican Americans have about Afro-Latinos or Afro-Mexicanos, Blaxicans, right? Mexicans. What do you think is like one big misconception that they might have?
I thank you. I've been engaging in a lot of hate towards me online recently because of the videos that I've made about being Afro Mexican and feeling uncomfortable with somebody speaking on that when they don't know. And I think that what I kept hearing when I kept saying like, "Oh, we're isolated. We do our own thing. We don't really care for like whatever people got going on in other spaces." And I believe that people were like, why wouldn't you want what the whites have? Or why wouldn't you want what everybody else has? And I was just like, have you considered that not everyone's North Star is whiteness? Like, I feel like that's the biggest misconception, that we all want exactly what white people have. But for us, that we grew up in our own culture, that we understand our connection to the land, that we connect our connection to our culture, that's not our North Star at all. We actually love the way, like, we love we're happy where we are. Like, I will say that Afro Mexicans are so freaking happy. They're the happiest people that I've ever met in my life. We love to party. We party for every single thing. I don't think we can be out partied. I mean, and I think that is the misconception, that somehow we're having a bad time because we don't have what everybody else does. And I'm like, but is this constant looking at our communities as with a deficit lens. We're not in the deficit, baby. We got our own food. We have our own language. We have our own culture. We have our own music. We have our own traditions. I mean, we have our own land. We have everything. I don't know. I feel like what irks me the most is feeling like people are looking at us from a deficit lens of like, because we don't have what other Mexicans have, then there must be something wrong with us or we're not good enough. And I just wanted to bring back a conversation around what appropriation looks like and why our fear of letting people in. I don't know if you ever heard about Maria Sabina, which is the indigenous person in Oaxaca that had access to mushrooms that were usually used for rituals and part of their culture. But when white people got a wind of these mushrooms, they started coming to Oaxaca and using them for fun. And Maria ended up looking really bad in front of her community, that she got kicked out of her community for allowing these white people to come in to use something that was so sacred to her community, to just use it for fun. And so for me, I feel like that is our point of reference a lot of the times is, well, it didn't go well for her to be in communication with white people. White people didn't come in and gave her more money or gave her a status, or to the contrary, they made her own people hate her for bringing them in and them destroying the land because they don't have the same honor to the land. I feel like we perceive, and again, it's hard as an indigenous person not to say this because it can be a little problematic for some folk, but to think about like some white people that come into our spaces have no connection to the land, therefore it doesn't have any value to them. So destroying it for them doesn't matter. It doesn't have the same significance that it has for us. So I feel like every time somebody comes in, we are very cautious about what they want, why they want it, and we don't want to associate. Now, I grew up in Costa Chica. Costa Chica is roughly like an hour away from Acapulco, and Acapulco was a very touristy area. The white people exploit the hell out of Acapulco like nobody's business. When they destroyed it, they left. And now everybody lives in misery. It's, I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but people live with the consequences of what decades of exploitation, decades of white people coming in from the United States to exploit the land, to exploit the people. I mean, I can't think of any other good example as to why we decided that we didn't want to engage with such culture that is destroying our communities. And one thing that I keep making reference to is like, you're not going to hear Afro Mexicans being like drug lords or being in like violence in against women, because we hold people accountable. There was a specific story that my dad always tells me about how a young man did something really horrible to a woman in our community, and the whole community came in, they took care of it, and it never happened again, because like we're not gonna let that happen. Sorry.
And
And
here
so,
you have a president. Let me shut up. Let me shut up.
but it's true. And so I feel like when community takes care of their issues, they have a stronger opportunity to really solve them. But if we're waiting for the Mexican government to come and save us, it's not going to work, because we know our communities, we know what we need, we know what we can do to change it. And I think the biggest misconception is that we need somebody from the outside to come and tell Afro-Indigenous people how to live. Like, we were fine before y'all. I'll be right back.
Mhm. I know that we usually don't have a bunch of people up on the panel at one time, but God, it's so good. Hi, Veed. Veed is here. Yay! Veed, if you could come up for a quick second, if you have time. I know you're just coming in, so you're probably like, I don't know what I'm walking into, but Sasha is amazing, amazing, amazing. Afro-Mexicana indigenous woman from Mexico, and I would love for you guys to connect because it's like the North and the South. So if you can come up real quick. Okay, Ivy. Metzi! Okay, Metzi, I wanted you to come up because I know that you're from where she's from. So I was like, okay, let's get them situated. DRC, hi twin, how are you?
Hi, twin. I'm good. I hate I missed majority of the conversation. Dang, she sounds really, really interesting. Really, really
She's
interesting.
amazing. She is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And I'm sure, like, and I know y'all dipped into colorism and all that stuff with her
We
being she's Afro
actually
Latina.
haven't yet.
Oh, you
We
haven't?
actually haven't too much yet. No.
Okay.
Yes, we haven't too much yet. Okay. Who was next? Saji, are you done, Mama, for right now?
Yeah, no, it was beautiful and I appreciate it. I think I'm just like, my people. It is so, she put it so perfectly that it, like, I was like, I have to request. I think we should take that, like, instead of trying to take parts of Afro indigenous culture and like she said, my culture is not your costume, my roots are not for sale, okay? We need to take that, all of us, that's something we can take. We need to take that and set the pace, because we have allowed for too much gentrification, too much of this idea that we need to let everybody know what's going on with us, that it has really, really been to our detriment. The last thing I wanted to add, because I'm like, I followed you now. It's like she said, Mi abuelita, after she passed, I found out how much money they had. I had no idea. She lived a humble life. Siempre traía su little rebozo, tenía su little apron, cocinaba para la familia, frijolitos, pancito. Like I would have never guessed from the way that she lived that she even had anything to even fight for or leave behind. But it's just this thing that if you don't get it, you don't get it. We consider, as Mexicanos, we consider peace the biggest richness to us. Si tienes paz, si nadie te está molestando, if you are able to be safe, comfortable, have your family, community, you're the richest person on earth. Y eso aquí en Estados Unidos les vale madre. That's not richness. It's materialist things. Pero allá, que te den una coquita de bolsa, ahí sentada con tu abuelita en tu hamaca y una tortilla con sal, you're rich. And I can tell from un mexicano that's connected and one that's not, because humility is the quickest way for me to tell. But I appreciate you, Sasha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saji. So typically, Sasha, I bring up one person, but you're just popular. Everybody, okay? So you are very loved by your community here online.
And I just want to say something. Like, there are things that, of course, like, are sensitive, especially when we talk about gatekeeping, because it's this balance between, like, people of color sharing each other's culture and being able to understand each other. But when it comes down to white people, that conversation is just a little bit different about how we present our community, how we present our culture to them, and how much of ourselves we allow them to have access to. And ultimately, it's not against all the Mexicans that want to know about Afro-Mexican culture. Is more or less what we've seen white people come and do to our cultures, that we want to stop that from happening, because it's already happening. Like I said, there's stories already of indigenous people who've lost everything as a result of wanting the whiteness, of wanting to bring people in, and those people not having the same values, period. Having this entitlement of, it belongs to me, I can have everything, I conquer the world, so I can come and these indigenous people can just give me everything they have for like a few $1,000s. And that's not fair. And so that's why I'm always clear about like who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the white people. I'm not talking about like in other indigenous people or other black people. Like, we actually share amongst ourselves. Who we don't share with is the people that come and appropriate our culture. You can appreciate it, but don't appropriate it. And I say this because I was wearing a set of earrings at a protest one time, and there was a white woman that came up to me. She was like, "Where did you get them?" And I was like, "In my hometown." She was like, "Do they sell them online?" And I'm like, "No." Because this is actually from one of my cousins who's an artist. And I was like, "No, they don't sell them online." She was like, "Well, I would like to buy one." And I was like, "Well, they're not for sale." And I remember just being so like, and my wife was like, "Why were you?" She was like, "You're so nice all the time. This is the one time I've seen you be so rude." And I was like, the way that she was speaking about my culture made me so ill that I couldn't find it in myself to be nice. I'm sorry. I was like, this time I really had to be like, "No, girl, you're not gonna find them online." And that was facts.
The way that they think that they can like have some type of say so when it comes to our culture or our bodies is sickening. It really is sickening. Like, they have this thing where they think that they can just own us or own what we have, or they have a say so in it, and they don't. And then when you refuse them, some of them lose it. Some of them literally lose it. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, you good? Chill out. Like, yes, the entitlement. Ivy, welcome in. Ivy is also another very close woman of ours. She is also a previous guest, and she's another chingona too. Welcome in, Ivy. Are you there, Mama?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm trying to be everywhere and somewhere all at the same time. Sasha, mi respeto, Commissioner Sasha. I do my research. You are the epitome of Google me, because I didn't Google you. And I did look through your LinkedIn, and I did go through all your nonprofits. um, and girl, you are a powerhouse. And women like you are one of the reasons why I decided to run in the election that I ran in. As a precinct chair, my job is to uplift candidates, right? And push people to go vote. And I ran against a man who had had his position for over 10 years and did jack squat. Like he no hizo nada, like no hizo nada. And so women like you who I've seen out in the streets that are politically active and are making positive change have motivated me to take up those positions and fill in those seats when they're needed. Um, like Adina had mentioned, I think we're all kind of like, because of how you've been speaking out lately in recent issues that do affect Afro Latino, Afro Indigenous individuals. I was raised by an Afro Indigenous man who is not my grandfather by blood, but he is my grandfather by every single right that has been granted to him. Um, and going against a community would be going against the man who raised me like his own in his own traditional beliefs. Um, and that community is probably one of the most loving, unconditionally loving communities that we have in Mexico. Um, and I applaud you for your work. I think one of my biggest questions is how did you stay motivated throughout your campaign and continue to fight to the last minute? Because it's hard. Campaigning is hard. Block walking is hard. Having difficult conversations is hard, and it can be very draining. And how did you take care of yourself during that time?
Thank you so much for the question. And I just want to say that's another thing that we got to look at when we're looking at white supremacy is these people do not want to leave power. They'll be there for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 100 years if they need to. They will not give people the opportunity to run for office. And so that's why it's our job to create the new leaders. It's our job to do leadership development so that we can have young people come and represent us because I mean, the amount of people that are in office that shouldn't be, anyway. But the other thing that I wanted to say was, because I was running for office for school board, I started visiting classrooms, talking to the students, asking them, what would you like to see? And a lot of the times, like what I will do is like, I will bring sheets and I will say, if you had a budget of $1 billion, which is typically the budget of our district, I'll ask them, what would you invest in? And hearing from them, the people who I was going to represent was so important and so key in being inspired because ultimately I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for the people that I knew needed the support and that despite what we hear in the news that people don't know what they want, white people know better, they're the better leaders. When we ask our community what they want to see, they know. They're smart. They have already considered these questions. And so I think going to the classrooms, engaging with the students was really important. And also, like I said before, I have a really strong support system. Like I really do have people that hold me accountable, but that also catch me when I fall, that are so genuine. And I feel like when I was under a lot of stress, I would talk to my wife, who was my campaign manager. So having somebody that understands politics, that also loves you, that will be willing to do. I mean, if y'all think that I'm great, like if you met my wife, you'll be like, damn, she a powerhouse. She's like, I saw that woman walk like 20 miles, passing out flyers, putting them on poles, like going everywhere for me, staying up all night, like creating the designs. Like she did the work of like 100 people. So much so that when our campaign was over, people like she got hired to lead 130 plus unions as a result of how well she did our campaign, even though we lost. And so she's a badass. And so I think having my wife be so close to me, understand the work, having the same values, having the same principles, was so important and key because when we lost, it didn't feel like a loss. Like it really felt like we did we did teamwork that led us to me becoming an executive director, her representing over 130 unions. And so it didn't feel like we did, like the work was in vain. Like it was like we were working with purpose. And because we were working in purpose, it didn't matter if we lost or win, we were still going to do the work. And so I feel like this, reminding myself that it's a strategy. Running for office is a strategy. It's not the goal, the end goal, right? End goal is to create permanent change. That's what we want to do, but that can come in different ways. And running for office is just one of those strategies. And so I feel like knowing and having a healthy relationship with power is important. Having strong women around you is very important. Having people that you know that believe in you is super important. And, having my parents too. Like my parents play a big role. My parents didn't speak English and they still showed up to every debate. Like my parents, like they love me and I love them so much. So I think that support system is what allowed me to keep going in the moments where I didn't want to. I just looked around and was like, damn, I'm in community. I'm not doing this by myself. And I think that is one of the key things that I said in the beginning is we are communal people. We are, I know, you were saying also that, like, we're people who like, it takes a village, right? And so I felt like I was part of a village. I wasn't this like, just like this politician that was running for office and all that mattered was winning or else. Like, no, it was like, okay, we're going to do a really good run. And part of it was also showing along the way that you can be ethical, that you don't have to break the rules, that you don't have to do a smear campaign. And I think about it even now when there was somebody that I got into, I'll say like, I don't know, not even an argument, but online, we had a little discussion or debate, if you will. And I thought about every message that I got about their personal life that I could have used, or like the moments that they engage in like bad faith in other spaces. And that same thing happened with with the opposition. People came and told me negative things about their marriage, about that person, and all these things, and not taking care of, not worrying about that. Like, I'm not here to expose people's personalities, or I wasn't attacking the person. I always wanted to attack their ideas. And so showing the youth by example. The problem was that the opposition, when they were running, it was so clear because students came to speak against them that they got elected. Actually, that's all on video. I'm gonna post some of that later. But some of the students came and they said, we are very disappointed because we saw the kind of campaign that you did. Like, you lied. You broke the rules. You broke the law in so many times. So I feel like for me it was also knowing that I needed to lead by example, that I couldn't lie in the campaign trail and then expect to be a good representative. Like, that doesn't work. Like, if you see somebody doing shady stuff on their campaign trail, why would I want you to be my representative? I don't want to win if I have to cheat. I don't want to win if I have to lie. I don't want to win if I have to take money from people that I don't respect. I feel like I led with all of my values. And so I feel like when you lie to yourself along the way in the campaign and you do things against what you believe to be the best thing for you, and that goes against your integrity, when you walk out of the campaign, you have questions about your identity. You have questions about who you are. And I just didn't walk away feeling like that. I felt like, hell yeah, I ran one hell of a campaign, and I was myself. And look how far, like, I don't know. I looked at it from a different perspective than most people, I feel like, look at things. So that helped. That helped a lot.
Man, thank you for that. Also, thank you for everybody who's up here. Amazing questions, amazing answers. We have Metzley up here, and Yarcy. Metzley, go ahead, mamas.
Hi guys, thank you for having me up. Hi Sasha, I was really excited to see you up. I hadn't been following you, but as soon as I seen what you were about, I was immediately follow. Y aparte también eres de Guerrero, mi familia es de Guerrero también. Somos de un pueblito en la sierra del municipio de Tasco, pero en la mera sierra. So somos indígenas también. So I'm very I have a lot of pride when I see you. So my question though was, as you know, the Mexican population, we have a lot of things that divide us, right? From colorism to misogyny to religion to anti-indigenous attitudes to, just everything, everything under the sun, right? And we know that colonization influenced all of that. But on this side of the border, what are some action steps that, at least based on your experience, we could all do in our communities to sway or influence people to vote for the collective, even though we have all those factors that we are having to fight internally in our communities?
That's a good question. Sorry. That's a good question.
I feel like that's what I was saying earlier. Is I think being in coalition, being in connection to multiple communities is key, so that you can hear other people's perspective. I feel like it's hard because I feel like there were very strong reasons why I felt like I lost. Part of it was because I'm young. Part of it was because I'm a woman of color, and that kept showing up, like homophobia, the way that people attack me said so much about the current political climate. And so I feel like supporting your candidates that are of color is so important, because they get attacked left and right. But if we as a collective support and go against, like, I felt really bad when I saw that nobody really defended me against homophobia or against like the impact of like being young or being a person of color. I feel like I would have wanted my community or more community to say, hey, that's not okay. And I think that we have normalized those attacks. So for me, one of the things that I wanted to do as I became a elections commissioner was work on ending that kind of harm in campaigns, because people utilize, like I was saying, personal information, or they use your race, your class, or whatever to try to harm you in politics. And I want that to not continue. That's something that is unacceptable, and that continues to push people, especially people of color, from running. Because if all I'm going to hear is that I'm not good enough because I'm too young, because of the color of my skin, eventually it gets to you and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I feel like fighting against that is so important. And I'm trying to think of, like, for instance, when I was attacked by my opposition and I saw the negative things that they had to say about me personally, not my politics, not my policies. It was straight up like personal attacks. Just to be aware of that when you're receiving mailers and when you are supporting someone, make sure that you don't support someone that is really attacking someone's identity. We have to be more aware as a community when someone is seeing something that is straight up racism. Like, those are the things that we need to start calling out. We can't allow that to keep happening. And it's funny because when that kept happening to me, I thought to myself, if I saw this, I would think this person doesn't care about this community. Because if my opposition really care about the community, they wouldn't have attacked me personally. They would have said, Sasha, you have been in this community longer. How can we partner after this? But they make enemies of their opposition, as opposed to, that's why I cannot, like, it's so hard for me to believe that what's it called, people who are on different ends care about the same thing if you're not willing to work with one another. And that's what I learned about my opposition, was that she didn't care about my community, because if she did, she would have partnered with me. She wouldn't have attacked me personally. She would have said, hey, Sasha, you've been in this community for a really long time. I would have helped her. I really would have partnered with her. But because of the way that she showed up, I was like, I can't do this work with you, because you're going to make me do the work for you. And that's just not going to work. And so I think looking at people's intentions, supporting and the biggest thing, people of color get no money, baby. I'm going to say that one more time. People of color get no money. Our campaigns are a lot of the times are weak, because we like the people that supported me were a lot of working class people, and I got like $50 here and $20 there, which is, I'm super appreciative, because sometimes that's all they had, literally. But we're fighting against a damn machine that has friends that will give them $1,000, 1,500. I don't have that kind of friends, to be honest, because I'm with the working class people. Like I'm not rich. So also that is one of the ways that you can support your indigenous and black candidates. Is like donate whatever you can, because we have no money and they're using their freaking money to keep us away from those offices and to continue to perpetuate the same racism, because they use that money not for the good. They use that money to send mailers to say that person has no education, she's gay, she's this, she's that. Like, it's not like they're using it for in a positive way. So if there's another thing that I can just share, please donate to your local nonprofit organizations, donate to your candidates, especially if you really believe in their mission. Yeah, please do donate, because I think that was one of our struggles. Like, we couldn't send a mailer of our own, whereas our opposition sent like 5.
Man, that great questions, guys. I know DRC wants to go, and then we'll start to close it up after DRC. Go ahead, Twin.
Yes, so yes, I'm loving, man, I really hate that I missed
Oh,
majority
and by the way, sorry,
of
Casey,
this.
don't mean to interrupt you. She's an
What?
amazing artist, Sasha.
Really?
She does hyper realism. You need to check
You
out
do
her.
hype? Oh.
No, you do.
Oh, me? Oh, okay. I thought you were saying she was an amazing
No,
artist.
you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do a little something, I do a little something. But yeah, thank you, Twin. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, because you're very passionate about what you do, and I love that, and we need more passionate people out there. And I didn't even think about that, about what it's like for people of color running for office. There probably is no money. You're right. Like, there is, it doesn't happen. I didn't even think about that. That's why I try to donate when I can. But I wanted to bring up the voter apathy that we have in the Black and brown communities right now. And how do you think that we combat that? Because I'm in Texas and I know that it's severe here. There's a lot of voter suppression and stuff like that, and a lot of us feel like we're not being heard and stuff like that. So yeah, what's your advice? How do we get like our family, friends, and stuff like that on board?
I feel like I said this a little while ago. I think it's important for us to start building our own candidates. We have
Yes.
to bring it from our community, because a lot of the times we feel disconnected because these people are not connected to our community. They're coming here to use us as a stepping stone in their freaking political career. They're not here because of the best interests of our community. So one of the things that I always try to tell people is like, build coalition with organizations in your region and have them do forums so that those candidates can come and speak, or that you can start thinking about who you would want to run for a specific office. I think that you will have more people engaged in the voting process if they knew who the person is, if they felt like that person has supported the community. I feel like there would be more uh, I think that it mobilizes more people when they know who the candidate is. That is not just coming, because I feel like a lot of the people who don't want to vote is because of that, because they know that it's going to be the same. People are going to get into office. They're going to do the exact same thing over and over and over again. But if it's somebody that you know, somebody that you built, someone that you're pushing to become part of your government, that there will be more. I feel like people are more invested. And I feel like that's what we've been trying to do here in Oakland, is that when somebody becomes or candidates don't just pop out of nowhere, we really do try to collectively think about who would be the right person and why. And so we invite community to give their own opinions about what will make a good candidate. Like, there's people who've never asked themselves the question of like, what will make me want to support a candidate? But if you ask somebody that question, I guarantee you that if we had a forum, they'll ask the question of like to the people who are running for office. And you're absolutely right. Like, there's literally no money for people of color. There's no money for us to be running because there's a certain expectation. There's a certain look. It's a lot of the times I showed up to spaces where everybody was wearing a suit and tie, and I was the only one that had the crazy lashes and earrings. And so that already disqualified me because of the way that I look. So I think that even talking about anti-blackness in our community, talking about anti-indigeneity and how that shows up in our community is very important. what makes us believe that just because we're people of color, we can't run our own governments? Reminding people that whatever they've been doing for the last few hundred years has not worked for them or for us. That for some of them have, for the 1%, but overall, if we look at some of the white people in America, they're uneducated and they're very poor too. So it hasn't worked for everybody, every single one of their members either. Sometimes all white people have to hold on is what's it called, racism. They don't even have money. Like literally, they don't have no property, they have no money, they have nothing. All they have to hold on is their racism. And so having those conversations, I think, in community is very important. And when you find somebody that you feel connected to, protect them, take care of them, because what they're gonna do, all of the what I've seen happen time and time again is they will attack a person of color till they run away. Like they will not stop until they make you run away. And because again, the solid support system that I have, I literally, when the person that won, oh my God, when they got elected and they went to their first board meeting, my whole family showed up. Bunch of students showed up. I showed up. And I was like, you're a liar. You're a thief. You broke the law. And I had my proofs. And that was something that everybody was like, what the fuck? We've never had somebody come and tell the truth to another candidate or like things of, I was like, I'm here to call y'all out. Like, I'm different. You don't see that? You still don't see that I'm different? That I'm going to call you out because you're a liar. You're a thief. And I told her, you take $150,000 from this district. I know that your children don't go to public schools. You pay $50,000 per child in a private education system. It's like if you open a restaurant and you didn't want to eat there. Why? And so and then the students that I work with, they felt really upset about them winning because they knew that they cheated and they had all of the evidence that they were cheating and presented it to her. So those are the things that makes us different is we got to call out injustices. We got to continue to do that. And even if I was like, I'm never going to leave. What's it called? I'm never taking off my foot of your neck, girl. Like, you're going to see me here. You think that with your homophobia and racism, you're going to kick me out? Girl, I'm not going anywhere. And I told her, I was like, have the term that you deserve because I'll be right here with my students. And so every time they see me coming, their heads go down because they know we have the proof, because they know they lie, they cheated. And the students know that and they know that. And so we just can't. We can't let them. We really can't. And I don't know if anybody else had another question, but at the end, I would like to bring back something about the Afro-Mexican community that I feel like is a misconception of people don't really know about, that I want to bring up.
Yes, of course. I had a question and then se me fue la onda. No, yes, there we go. There. So when you're talking about like your opposition from when you were running for a seat, for me, let me slow it down. Let me rewind or back up a little bit. That kind of sounds like what we also face if you're a content creator or you're just using your voice here on this app. That kind of sounds like what we face on online. Because you can also face people online who are like your opposition in real life, right? When you were running, who will get personal information, who will use that personal information, what we call doxing, right? People will go out of their way to dox you on this app and to just spread all these wild rumors. So how do you face the same way you face it in real life? How do you apply that to here on your online presence?
I feel like I just try to be very authentic about who I am. I try to be my most authentic self. And I'm not as problematic, I'll say, as other people. So they bet you as a candidate too. Like, do you have any like rumors or you have this or you have that? And because I was an undocumented immigrant for a long time, like I had to be in an arrow, straight like an arrow, or else I'll get deported, So I feel like I had to be a model like citizen. So I didn't have like crimes and things of that nature. But I think if somebody wants to talk crap about me, they have to make something up. So because I know that they will have to make it up. Like, I don't care, because they will not say it to my face. And I say this because they're cowards. They're cowards. Just like I told you. I told you I went the day that she got elected. My mom talked her shit. My dad, my wife, myself, the students that saw everything transpired. The day that she tried to walk my neighborhood, my neighbor came and they were like, dude, the opposition is outside. Mind you, with the help of Jerry Brown, she has sent thousands of letters saying that I had no education, again, that I had no children. She had like a bunch of list of things that she just said about me personally, and that I was obviously part of the LGBTQ community. I don't know how that makes me unfit to run, but whatever. So she was walking my neighborhood, and mind you, this is the craziest part. It was literally during Day of the Dead. So I was wearing a Katrina makeup. I could not make this up. And my neighbor comes and they're like, the opposition is outside. And at this point, I already know that she sent this out. She's already talking so much crap about me. So I go and confront. I went outside and I confronted her. And I said, what's up? You had all this to say about me in these mailers. What's up? And she was like, ah! And I said, I need a public apology from you. And and she was like, yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I never saw her again. They're cowards.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't take anything personal from someone that is online. Because if I confronted you in person, you'd probably be scared because you know you're lying. And I really ran up to her. I recorded the conversation because that's when I knew that she was cheating, because that mailer went out through it was independent expenditure, which means that she couldn't coordinate with them, right? That was supposed to be Jerry Brown on this one side being messy, right? Without her knowledge. But when I talked to her, she said, I told them not to release it. So you were in the same room talking about a person of color and a queer person in this way, and you told them not to post it when you weren't even supposed to know? So, and we got that on video. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not lying out here, nobody's gonna come get you. So I move with a lot of confidence because I'm not out here lying, scheming, cheating, lying, whatever. No, I don't have time for that, because that doesn't represent my community. I come, and I probably haven't said this, I'm a family engagement specialist by trade. That's my bread and butter, because I have the best mom and dad the world could have ever given me. And my parents are watching, and even when they're not, because we do believe that they will be watching me one day from above. God forbid that is anytime soon. But whatever they are, they will be watching me. And what they think about me matters, because they have they have integrity. They have loyalty. They love each other so much. They love their children unconditionally. 2 of their kids are queer, and they love us, the hell out of us. Like, they do. They protect us. They love us. My mom, they always ask her about inclusive language, because she was a Spanish teacher for 24 years. And she always tells me, my job is not to protect the language of the oppressor, it's to protect my children. So let's go inclusive, baby. And so this is my parents. I cannot let those people down. They sacrifice so much. I walked the desert with my mom. She sacrificed so much. She believed in me. When I was undocumented, I told my mom, I'm going to be running for office one day. And my mom was like, hell yeah, you are. And so I can't let my parents see me become something that they didn't raise. They raised me to be loving, to be caring, to be genuine, and not to harm anybody. To not go around here just scamming people and harming people. So no, I am different, and I lean on that difference, and that difference comes from my culture. It comes from who they are and who they built me and my brothers to become. So again, we are a community. We are a village. I'm not self-made. Sorry, baby. If I told you that I was self-made, that would be some BS. No, they raised me. They watered me like a little plant to ensure that I had the confidence that I participated, and another thing was like my mom sent me to like there's not a lot of indigenous communities here in Oakland, but there's a large black community, and so my mom always sent me to predominantly black schools. And she was like, this is where I want you to be. I want you to be with the people that you can connect with, the people that are not gonna hurt you for who you are or gonna look at you differently. And I was able to build incredible community with people that, like my best friend, she's African American, she's black, but she, like, when we met, I didn't know how to speak English. And she's still my best friend. And so she taught me along the way. And so I feel like my parents were very intentional about my upbringing and ensuring that I wasn't sent to a white school because they will give me more opportunities. They were like, no, I know the bullying and the harassment that you will experience if you go to a predominantly white school. So even that's why I said for a lot of people, whiteness is the North Star. Not for my family, not for me. My parents were like, oh yeah, you might get better opportunities if you go to that white school, but you know what you're going to lose? Your confidence. You're going to lose who you are. You're going to lose your identity. They're going to try to strip you away from who you are. They're going to make you feel less than. I'm telling you, people, do not go to the places where you're not loved, where you're not welcome, because those not the places for you. That, like, I cannot, like, especially like in some places where like white people talk so much crap about each other. I'm like, if y'all don't like each other, why would you like me? Like, you can't stand each other. You hurt each other all the time. So why would I expect you to like me? There's no need. So I feel like that was very intentional for my parents to put me in spaces where I can flourish and not financially, because of course, like I said, they tell you if you go to a predominantly white school, there will be more resources, there will be more services, there will be more of this, more of that, because historically those are the really good funded schools. My mom didn't care about that because she was like, I'm engaged. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring waters. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to do all of the things so that their resources are there, but I don't want anybody to destroy your confidence. And my wife had an opposite upbringing, because she did go to predominantly white schools. And so coming together to discuss things that we had to experience, I'm just like, damn, that was so harmful. Like, how can you, oh my God. Like, those are the kind of conversations that me and my wife have sometimes about how different our lives. Like, I came to be more involved in politics and things of that nature because of the death of Oscar Grant. I don't know if people are familiar with Oscar Grant, but he was a young black man that was murdered here in Oakland. I don't know if you ever heard about Fruitvale Station. So that was actually my neighborhood. That was one of the main reasons why I became involved in anti-police brutality work. I almost got arrested at 18 and because I wanted to be involved in that fight, because I recognized that the black and brown struggle is one and the same. They want to exterminate us, and we're just a few shades away from one another, but ultimately they don't care. If you don't look like them, baby, they don't care. They do not care.
Queen said, "Oh, I protested for that too." Oh my God, I love her. Just hearing what you had to say about just handling so many different adversities, and when you had said just being your most authentic self, that resonated so much with me. I like, I recently, as a lot like you, have faced some weird online drama, and somebody had shared a live with me today, and they're like, hey, come here, and I was like, okay. So I go, and it was my picture in the background. I'm like, oh, hi. How's everybody doing? And I got up there, and I was just like, well, don't know what's going on, but I'm Gina. This is who I am. I'm a Chicanita from Texas, like mi mamá is de Chihuahua. I grew up a Chicana. If that offends some people, I don't know what to say. I love my indigenous roots. I love, like my Yaqui roots. I wasn't raised in the tradition, but I still love my people and where I come from and who I am. And if that rubs people the wrong way, I don't know what to tell you. My DMs are open if you want to have a conversation. And that's all we can do, is just be true to who we are, be our most authentic selves, and the people who are supposed to be in your orbit will be in your orbit. And that's so important. I want to welcome in Queen V, and she'll be the last one before we head out, and then we'll let Sasha say what she wanted to say. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. Welcome in, Queen. We love you.
Hi, good to be here. Sasha, nice to meet you. I was Sasha brought me up because I am a Bay Area native, and Oscar Grant's story was like the case that, like, I guess formally radicalized me. It happened when I was a senior in high school, and it's like there's been things before, but that impacted me, and I'm sure you understand beyond measure, just being here and seeing how Tatiana, his daughter, has continued to grow and do the hard work. Just hearing you say that, I was like, oh my God, like, I love you, because I was also in the paint too. During that time, I feel like we could have walked past each other or like, and not know it, but I just wanted to come and say hi and introduce myself and just thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's extremely important, and to hear you acknowledge, like, him in particular, like anybody that really knows you on this app, like whenever we have these conversations, I always talk about Oscar, that it's just the one thing that rocked my spirit. And I've been on the journey even before them, but especially at that time. So I appreciate you, and I just wanted to say that.
Oh
See,
my God.
I just wanted to say, Sasha, take care of your mental health. I don't know if people understand that we are people. We're not just on social media. We're not just people look at you and they see someone that they look up to, or they see a person on their phone. But we are real people. And like Gina was saying, people will put us on their backgrounds, they'll start saying, talking about us, and they forget that we are human. So take care of your mental health. We love you, and all of us love you. We look up to you. So keep on doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you. And I just want to say, thank you so much, everybody, because you all shown me so much love. And I think that being from the culture that I come from, a lot of the times, like, really, I always try to look at the positive things in everything, which is challenging to some people. So I try to not take things personal, because I recognize that people, for several things. One of them is the fact that, I humanize people's experiences. I don't take things so personal to be like, oh my God, they're saying this because of me. Sometimes it's because of people's experiences, what they've been through, their own human experience. Like, I don't know. It's really hard for me to take things personal, because I really do try to humanize them, and also because I'm anti-capitalist, and so I recognize that my enemies are the 1%, not the people that are poor like me, that are 1-2 paychecks away from getting into poverty. You may be racist and have some things that I don't like, but ultimately you're not my oppressor. You're not the people that are keeping us poor. You're not the people that are closing our schools. So I think that having the eyes on the prize of, like, who actually matters in terms of, like, who we're fighting against, to be very clear about that is important. So thank you so much for saying that, because I feel like, yeah, people sometimes are so mean and nasty. And I don't know, maybe that's why I try to do more online things, because I feel like those things don't affect me now, I guess, so far. Like, those are not things that I keep me up at night. So, but I will continue to take care of myself. So thank you for saying that. That's really amazing. And then Queen Bee, one thing that I wanted to say was that I was a senior myself at the time that Oscar Grant passed, and where he was murdered by the police. Because I don't want to sugarcoat it. And I remember I was undocumented at the time, and my best friend, Vicina Thang, was protesting with me. And I remember her taking, like, the police coming for us. And I remember her, like, literally snatching me, moving to the side, and her getting arrested and getting in front of me. That's why I say I'm not self-made. People have protected me. People have loved me. People have been there for me. And one of them I always want to acknowledge is my best friend, who knew that I could get deported if I get arrested. And she got in front of that cop and she got arrested. And that is sisterhood, man. She's been my best friend for 20 plus years. And that's why I always remember that as a pivotal moment in my organizing experience because I recognize what community is. I'm not self-made, and I'll say that over and over again. People have loved me, protect me, and I owe it to them to continue to work with courage, with love, and to protect. Like, she is now a parent, and she says, I'm glad that you didn't get deported because now you can look after my child if something happens. You're a good auntie. You're there for them. And a lot of the times why I run for office in education is for those children of my best friends who have loved me and protected me. And being an undocumented individual wasn't easy, especially being in the struggle and fighting for people's rights, because that that moment of being undocumented makes you feel like you're not human, that you don't have any rights, that you have no protections. And so what ends up happening is the need of our community to be that protection, to be that love, to be that barrier between you and the oppressor. And that's why I always claim the people that have helped me get to where I'm at, the people who have inspired me to do the work, the people who will hold me accountable. My friends will hold, like, I'm telling you, I have best friends that, man, sometimes, like, remember, like, I always ask them for advice. And sometimes I don't like what they tell me, but I have to listen because I know that they have the best interest at heart for me and that they wouldn't let me go down a negative path. Like, I don't know, I'm just surrounded by incredible people, and that is what keeps me going, for sure, for sure. So thank you, everybody. Real friends, for real. Real friends. So friendship is just as important as romantic relationships. I will say that. Like, that is,
Absolutely. And you know what I've this last year, within at least the last 9 months, I've really have gotten some amazing friendships in women. Like, I've been surrounded by some strong ass women. Like, and whoever says you don't need good friends or good sisters or believes in sister, I can't trust you if you don't believe in sisterhood. I don't know if I can be around you. And I don't know if I can be around you if you're not a girl's girl. I just can't. Like, it's 2026. What are we doing? We need our women. We need our sisters around us. And like, I'm gonna hella side eye you if you're one of those women that I don't need friendship. I don't need sisterhood. I don't know. I don't think so. So I really, really appreciate that you brought that up because that's super important. We're gonna head and close it out. So I want you to close it out and give the information or whatever you said that you had for us. But before you go, I want to thank you so much for being here, so much for being an inspiration, a role model. When you're not even asking to be you're just out there being a chingona and doing what you do best. And like, this is the whole reason why I started this podcast, is for women like yourself, for the queens, the skeptics, the DRCs, the Sajidas, the Sashas, the Ivies, the Beans. Like, you guys are amazing. You guys continue to inspire not only women, but you guys are inspiring young women who are being told right now in 2026 that our bodies don't matter. Women who have to hear men say, your body, my choice. We're dealing with femicide globally. Women are being suppressed. We're being told again, like always, to sit down, shut up, have babies. Women like you guys, who I get to have the beautiful honor and the privilege to be able to interview, you guys are what we need in society right now. And I want to just encourage you guys to continue doing it. And I couldn't be more honored to have you guys here. So, ya me callo, me shut up. Así pa que puede decir. But honestly, thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor.
Before I go, I do work for a nonprofit that is focused on LGBT. It's an LGBTQ organization. Only 1% of all, actually less than 1%, goes to LGBTQ communities as far as philanthropy is concerned, and particularly when they are led by women of color. And so I will put the information on the GoFundMe if you are interested in supporting our organization, because funds right now are so limited. So if you can find it in yourself to support our campaign, please do. You can learn more about the work that we do. I do have a crisis fund release fund, sorry, crisis relief fund that supports undocumented families who have been impacted by immigration, young people who are being targeted because they're part of the community, and so on and so forth. But you can learn more about the work that we do. There's also an annual report on the impact that we're having. So if you find it in yourself to find it in your heart to support our cause, please do so. And our pay in my what's it called, in my profile, you can actually learn more about our campaign and what we're building. I'm one of the lowest paid executive directors in the Bay Area because I don't do this for the money. I'm blessed enough that my wife supports, like I said, I'm not self-made. I have incredible women in my life, including my wife, that really supports me because she believes in the work that I do. She believes in the value that I bring to the nonprofit area. And and she's been so incredible in that process in allowing me to do what I love without the need of like having to be concerned about the funding for like pour money for myself. And one thing that I wanted to add as far as like the misconceptions of the Afro-Indigenous communities in Costa Chica in particular is that we also have a healthier relationship with religion that most people around the country. Like we, like one of the stories that is always told is that when the Spaniards came and they wanted to, they wanted to impose their religion. We said, yeah. Just give us whatever you want and just like move on with your life. And we kind of just like took them as they were crazy. So we're actually we're the only area where our Jesus is actually completely black as a form of resistance. So I want to post a picture of our God, of our Jesus at some point in my TikTok, because like we have a black Jesus that we come to only when we want to party, and we are the people that have this is the most fun, that we're not concerned about. And again, everybody's entitled to have the religion that they want. I'm not here to preach to anybody. But one of the things that makes me happy to be from an Afro-Indigenous town is that we have our own understanding of religion that will allow us to be happy, to be joyful, to not feel like if we do something negative, it's going to be automatically a sin, that there's place for redemption, that there's place for growth, that there's place for learning, and that not everything has to be black and white or completely bad, that there's opportunities. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like that's something that people don't know much about the Afro-Mexican community, especially our religious practices. And we come to the Jesus that they gave us to be like, hey, protect us because we're about to go party. Let's go. And I love that. Honestly, I really do. So those are the only times that we go to church, when there's going to be a party later on in the day.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I knew I typically go from 7 to 8, but we're going in the 2.5 hour mark, and I already knew it. I was like, it's just, I had the feeling. Thank you. For those of you who don't follow TIPM here in the box, that's the initiative that we have going. It's an acronym for the Indigenous Peoples Movement, and it's just bringing unification from people from Canada all the way down to Chile. Whether you are tribalized or detribalized, if you grew up in your culture or you're trying to come back to your people, it's just a Discord server that we have for information. We share personal stories. It's a really beautiful resource. So if you don't follow TIPM, follow TIPM. If you guys want the link, let me know. If you haven't followed Sasha, follow Sasha. What are you doing? Like, you didn't go this whole 2.5 hours and not have followed Sasha. Like, that's crazy work. Follow the whole panel. Amazing women up here. Women that I spend time with. So I appreciate you guys. Love one another. Love each other. Be a good relative and always stay humble and come in a good way. And you'll be good. Sasha, if you don't mind, in a couple of months, I would like to catch up with you and have you up again for another podcast just to see what's going on, to catch up, to see what's going on in your life around that time. So it would be an honor and a privilege.
Well, sounds good to me. Thank you so much, everybody. I really just want to say thank you. Sisterhood is important. It really is. Finding your tribe, finding the people that are going to support you along the way is super important. So if you can support Somos Familia, I really appreciate it. And then just continue to support each other. That's so important. I have long lasting friendships with my best friends, and they hold me accountable and they hold me whole when in the moments of need. So yeah, continue to find that tribe, continue to find women. Thank you for this space, because that's what we need. We need less spaces that are so into debates and dramatic and we hate each other. Like, we really need to create spaces of joy, because joy is resistance. And I just want to say one last thing, and then I'm gonna go. One last thing I'm gonna say, and that's it. I'm leaving, I promise, because I don't ever want to go. When I started recently, I started giving some dance lessons for our community to do more movement, joy, etc. And one of the people that I work with told me that in the 80s, when there was the epidemic with HIV, in the mornings they would have to bury their friends, but at night they would go out to the halls and have a good time, because life goes on and we enjoy love, being in community. That is the resistance. They don't want us to be happy. They want us to be depressed. They want us to be isolated, and we cannot give them that benefit. We have to be outside with our friends, find comrades, find other sisters that can be there for you. We need community. Don't let them lie to you and tell you that joy is not important. Happiness is important. Love is so important. Those things are really also resistance, not just being out protesting in the struggle. Loving each other is part of their resistance. Thank you.
Absolutely. What a great way to end it. I will see you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all the gifters and everybody who is supporting tonight. You guys are amazing. Que siguen haciendo chingones and being the amazing people that you are. Sasha,